down one night. Hood Papa tell Mama. Hood Papa tell Mama. Let that boy boogie. Hey, 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 hey. The enemy. And it got to come out. I felt so good. Went on boogie just the same. Boom, 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 boom. Gonna shoot you right down off of your feet.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. I love the way you walk, and I love the way you talk. When you walk that walk, and you talk that talk, you knocks me out off of my feet. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. How, 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 how. How, 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 how. Hey, hey. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. I love the way you walk. I love the way you talk. When you walk that walk and talk that talk, you knocks me out off my feet. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang.
Boom, 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 boom. Gonna shoot you right down off of your feet. How, 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 how. Hey, hey. Laying down one night, Hood Papa tell Mama. Hood Papa tell Mama. Let that boy boogie. Hey, 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 hey. The enemy. And it got to come out. I felt so good. Laying down one night, Hood Papa tell Mama. Hood Papa tell Mama. Let that boy boogie. Hey, 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 hey. The enemy. And it got to come out. I felt so good. Went on boogie just the same. Boom, 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 boom. Gonna shoot you right down off of your feet.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. I love the way you walk, and I love the way you talk. When you walk that walk, and you talk
All right,
that
we're
talk,
live.
you knocks me out
Number
Out off my feet. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang.
I'm doing good.
How. Hey, hey.
But I can't.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. I love the
Well,
way
I'm sure that I would have been really tilting the fact that I had players in the 52-51 game, and then the jackasses decided to go for 2, ruining the chance of, like, you know, a 3 overtime thriller, which would have been more stats. But hey, it is what it is. Anyway,
That's
so
what they say.
yeah, so let's talk a little NFL. We had a pretty good live stream last week.
Yeah.
I think overall slate wise, it ended up just being kind of blah for me. It is what it is. Although I was getting very upset the fact that once again my top receiver left in the first quarter with an injury. But thank God Mr. Amari Cooper came back onto the field. Any highlights that you remember of things that you said that were good or bad last week?
No, I think it was pretty much standard. Like cash games were solid. Tournaments could have been a lot better.
It's every fucking week, right?
I just think I made some critical errors in my tournament builds, which at the time I thought I should I really be doing this? And then I just kind of, didn't necessarily will myself into making those decisions, but kind of convinced myself that they were the right decisions at the time, and they didn't exactly pan out. But that's the breaks. Happens. We'll move forward here.
It is definitely. So week number 5, looking ahead, going to jump into this. There's a game in the morning, Jets and Falcons, which,
right?
Holy crap! Yeah, they're playing that game.
They had to export.
Are your Jets going to win?
I want that. I don't know, man. They won last week. I couldn't believe that shit. I was sitting at the bar watching the game, and I'm like, wow, is this really going to happen right now? I was just waiting for, the inevitable Zach Wilson interception or fumble or something to happen, or 95-yard touchdown run by Derrick Henry, and none of that really happened, even though he ran wild, which, was the obvious play. But I don't know. It's going to be – I think that game has some fantasy goodness in it, one way or another.
You say he ran wild. That's the second time now that he's been a pretty popular play in a road game, which I've been on the fact that they give him the ball a ton more on the road. I mean, last week was different. They didn't have any receivers, but he's gotten overtime in both games. The game in Seattle, and then last week in overtime, got possessions. Our Barkley call came through. Saquon looked really good.
I liked that. That was nice. He was, for any of my min cash tournament lineups, that was, one of the saving graces for me, because I had him in a lot of tournament play there.
Yeah, I mean, he really had one big play that catapulted him, where he caught the touchdown pass, and they really caught the Saints sleeping on that one play. But he looked good. He looked like the old Saquon, which was definitely nice to see. But so let's jump into this week's, and you want to go game by game again, so I'll grant you that to go through them. For those that are watching on the live stream, which is right now the only way that we're broadcasting this, or on YouTube, maybe watch after effect. We do have the model up. I'll click through it. I have been tweaking the projections now that we're a month into the season, the ratings to try to balance it a little bit. So I've made some updates, certainly on the defensive side, but the quarterback ratings, I'll just say, are there's something else this week. It's definitely interesting where it's pushing things out, but the model was fantastic in terms of quarterbacks last week, so we'll see how it does this week. But going from right to left, going from left to right across the screen here, we'll start with a pretty low total. I think the lowest one on the board between Denver and Pittsburgh. And Broncos, Steelers, I don't think you can like either passing game too much, but I assume this is not one of the games that you wanted to talk too long about, but go ahead if you do.
No, not much at all. Just, I do like Najee Harris a lot here. A lot of people are going to, but other than him, I don't even know if I'll have much of him at all because I think this game might just be a throwaway for me as it is.
Yeah, me too. So one of my themes this week that I kind of backed into, it just dawned on me that it's where I was going, was that I called it the former Alabama running back week, which once you start to dig into it a little bit, you kind of realize that that's not saying much considering how many Alabama guys there are. But
you're talking about Kenyon Drake, right?
Yeah. Well, look, I pulled in even Alvin Kamara. I technically was only there for a hot minute, but yeah. But yeah, so Harris fit into that process. Cortland Sutton was someone I was really heavily on last week, and then, in fact, when Teddy went out and Drew Lock came in, I was like, oh, this actually could be even better, and I do feel like his targets went up at that point. I finished with 8 on the day.
Because he just locks in on him. Yeah,
he does, but unfortunately, he locked in on like 2 feet above his head, and and Baltimore, I think, they pretty much knew it at that point. They had a comfortable lead, and they were able to lock him down. So the targets are still there for Sutton with Judy out. So I definitely still think that he's viable, and Pittsburgh's defense has just not been that good. So Teddy Bridgewater looks like it. I didn't look into this much. I guess he's fully cleared.
He's active. He's going to play.
Yeah, to go. But yeah, I don't have any desire skill wise. I do like both defenses in this game.
Yeah, even that though, I'm not. I mean, I just don't know if there's going to the floor for the defenses is going to be fine, but I just don't know if there's going to be any like. I don't know. The only thing, like I said, is Najee, but even that, it's like this game could just be a real dreck of a friggin' slow, boring game.
So Najee is borderline poor man's Alvin Kamara in that, which people, you might hear them like, whoa, but I think the receptions are going to stay there for him because Ben just can't. Ben can't move, and he's got to get rid of the ball quick, and it's going to be a dump down to Najee. So his price should go up, but
and a lot of the Najee getting the receptions, especially in this game tomorrow, which I don't know if it's not going to be like high teens targets, obviously, but he's going to get attention because Ben's dump down target is typically Juju out of the slot, right? And he'll get Bryce Callahan out of the slot, who might be the best cover corner outside of Jalen Ramsey, who's been there a lot this year. You just don't want to go anywhere near him. He's going to lock down Juju all day. So I think Najee's going to have have a lot of volume in this game. And like I said, he's going to be pretty popular.
All right, so moving on to a divisional battle, NFC North, the Lions and the Vikings. Injury note here, Dalvin Cook trending in the negative direction in terms of playing, which would be the third straight week in a row that he's been irrelevant. And for the Detroit side, nothing significant other than we got my male stripper wide receiver core for the Detroit Lions of, Syphilis, Khalif, Trinity, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah. Vikings are favored by 10. I think that the Lions cover. I'll start there.
Okay.
I think the Lions cover.
Right. Interesting. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree. And I actually really, I don't know if there's something like I have some kind of chemical imbalance here, but I kind of like this game a lot.
I fucking knew it.
and I wrote up in the Stacks article that'll be out early tomorrow morning for everybody to check out. The one of the stacks I wrote up was Cousins Jefferson, and then DeAndre Swift on the run back. And you'll notice that I'm only going to lock one receiver on Cousins just because if this game does get out of hand, I don't know if the passing volume will be there. And I don't really want to pay up for Thielen and Jefferson if that's the case. But there's a lot working in Jefferson's favor. He's, top 10 in a lot of advanced metrics as far as receivers go. And he's been targeted more heavily of late by Kirk. And Cousins is only 6,500. So, I'll have him a lot of my tournament lineups. And then as far as Swift goes, among running backs, he's second in targets, catches, and receiving yards. So you're going to say why you're going to run back a stack with a running back. Well, in this case, he's one of their top receivers, and especially with T.J. Hockenson a little banged up, and the trifecta of not elite wide receivers there for Detroit, I think that Swift should see a lot of work, continue to see a lot of work in the passing game. And lastly, Minnesota has allowed 20 receptions to running backs so far, and they're allowing over 20 fantasy points or so per game to the position. So Swift at 6,100 is a really, really nice play.
So for those wondering, I'm sure Rob just said a lot of very intelligent stuff, but as soon as he said Kirk Cousins, I tuned him out. No, like, yep, so that's the guy you were talking about earlier before we started?
Yeah. He's one of the quarterbacks. He's one of the guys I'm gonna have a lot in tournaments tomorrow. God help me. But yeah.
So
I like how this game. The way that I feel this game is going to play out relative to his price and the production that I expect him to have, and when you consider what you can build around, as far as like one-offs and little correlation stacks within the lineup, I think it sets up pretty well.
So I could see Cousins having an okay day. I did nail that he was going to suck last week.
Yes, you did,
pat
and
myself
I
on the back
actually,
about that.
I actually wrote that up in the article too, that you mentioned that, because it's notable because he was on a good run there, but this is Detroit here.
I mean,
Cleveland is better than Detroit.
Yeah, you could mention that. I say that every week about him though. But so Thielen's had some big games against the Lions.
Sure.
And my impression of the running back situation for the Vikings was, look, if Dalvin plays, you don't touch anybody there, because it's going to be a timeshare situation where they'll split it. Like, don't play Dalvin Cook, number one. You want Dalvin Cook when he is on the road as an underdog. And I don't have the numbers on this, but I know it for a fact that if you went and looked and said, okay, give me Dalvin Cook's splits when they're on the road and they're a dog, that's when they feed him the ball a ton and he has better games. At home as a favorite, he's just average. And with him being banged up, you don't even want to touch it. Now, if he sits, a lot of people are going to go Alexander Mattison. And for some of the reasons that you mentioned about Cousins and attacking, how to attack the Lions, I get it. The Lions are they're just thin all around. They just lack talent.
Right.
So they can scheme it up as much as they want to. I'm not on Madison though. I think that he's just okay. I wouldn't be shocked if Cousins ran one in himself. Probably threw one to one of their tight ends. Probably throws one to Thielen. So. Sure, Cousins does okay. The Swift thing, you make a lot of really good points there, and I can kind of buy into it. But I think if Detroit's gonna do anything, it's gonna be through Cephus or Raymond, potentially on the outside for them there. But yeah, I didn't write up anybody in this game. I didn't even touch the defenses. I'm trying to be better than I was early in the year about punting games and just ignoring them. This is one that I'm kind of ignoring, but if you wanted to talk me into playing Quintez Cephus for cheap on DraftKings at 4,300 or Khalif Raymond for 5,300 on FanDuel, I would do it. Or at least I would consider it, I should say. But Swift, like I said, good points. He's definitely not on my list, but you made some good points there. So you like the Vikings to win?
Yeah, I like the Vikings to win. I don't necessarily like them to cover.
Okay.
If they do cover, I think it'll be pulling away late in the game.
I mean, 10's a lot, dude, for a divisional game.
Right.
That's a
That's
lot.
what I mean. Like if like, but let's be honest here. Detroit's played a lot of close games, but they've shit a lot of their games away late.
Yes.
Like I don't know what the game they lost like 35-17. I think they were in that game and they just totally fell apart.
The Green Bay one.
Yeah.
It was tied at the half, I want to say.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was something like it was tied at halftime and
right.
They lost another game late, where
the Ravens won to Tucker. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, well, no, I mean there was a game that they lost later on. I think they ended up getting the doors blown off of. I can't think of the game right now. But I can't remember who it was.
The Niners?
But, they're
well,
just,
I mean, week 1 they were getting killed
around.
and they came back against San Francisco.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that. Maybe it was the was it the Bears game last week where they were in the game and I don't know, whatever it was. They're like hanging around games, but they find some way to just like fuck it up at the end.
They find a way to be the Lions.
Yeah, exactly. So if Minnesota were to cover, I think it'll be like on a late touchdown.
TJ Hawkinson, I think, was a late add. Yeah, he's questionable for tomorrow. Obviously, if he's out, that's
what I was saying.
Probably going to drive
so
some.
Much.
Yeah, probably going to drive some Viking defense ownership too. But
Swift is going to be pretty popular. Just putting that out there.
Really?
At 6,100, yeah, for sure.
I'd reran the. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say I reran the projections. I'll try to pull it up here before I jump to the next game. I didn't go look at his. I was having issues. I got him around 10%.
When I say popular, it's going to be like 15 to 16%. Like not like he's not going to be 30% owned like some other guys are.
Okay.
But he's going to be pretty popular in that range just because of the high dollar option that everybody's going to have. There's actually two players that are priced high who we're going to get to that are going to be extremely popular tomorrow. So,
okay.
But anyway,
at running back or receiver?
No, there's a running back and a receiver.
All right. Well, we might be on the receiver here next.
Okay.
Davante Adams, who's
there you go
popping, but he's Davante Adams, so yeah, he's going to get you 30 every week. He's 8,200 on DK. And it's noteworthy to me because his price is the same on both sites. I feel like he's almost 9K on DK is what he should be. It's
yeah. I mean, when you consider the price discrepancy between the two sites, usually but he's still like even on FanDuel, like he should be. I feel like a little bit more expensive.
Yeah. So he had only 12 fantasy points on DK last week on 11 targets. So anyway, so Packers at the Bengals. You had a point about this one before we came on live, so go ahead and talk about your Bengals, how you don't like it. I assume that you don't like it, but
I like it, but I wish I liked it more. But there's so all signs on everything that I look at show that I should absolutely like love the Bengals, play them every week, and not think twice about it. And in most cases, I do have a piece or multiple pieces of them every week, but they're one of the slowest teams in the league. They run the second fewest plays per game, and part of that is them just for whatever reason like puttering down the field, but also they have the ability to score at any second, like on any play. So that could be a huge part of it. So I do like them this week, and I do like this game a lot. So I have Burrow, Chase, and Boyd as a stack that I really like a lot because they're all affordable. And Green Bay doesn't get to the quarterback. They're like third worst in the league in sacks per game. And Green Bay's missing Jair Alexander, one of the top cornerbacks in football, who's been in the slot a lot this year. So that opens things up for Tyler Boyd. And I go into detail more about the stack in the article that'll be up tomorrow. But overall, I really like the Bengals in the spot, and then Adams coming back is going to be one of the highest owned plays on the slate. So I will have quite a bit of Burrow at 6,100 at least.
So quick point about this game. So this is my favorite stack game, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference between this and let's point out like the Giants and the Cowboys, which I think is the most popular game stack. The difference being this has a road favorite. People can talk about, high totals, bad defenses, yada, 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 good quarterbacks. Which, number one, this one has better quarterbacks in it when you combine the two guys. I know Jones is playing well, but you have a road favorite in this game. And so a game with a road favorite has a much higher probability, just by definition, when you match it up, of both teams staying competitive. If we're just ignoring who the teams are and all that, if blindly you said, hey, this game's got a road favorite, this game's got a home favorite, in the case of the Cowboys by a touchdown, I'm going to look at you and say, okay, well, I'll take the game with the road favorite because there's a higher chance that a home dog is going to upset than the road dog. It's just the way it is historically. That's why the lines are like that for a reason, and usually they are because that's how the teams are historically. Mm-hmm. Not to mention many other reasons with the Giants, which we'll get to later, why I don't like that game as much. But the pace thing, so Joe Mixon questionable here. I think if he's out, it's even more passing for the Bengals. And right now, the Packers, they used to be a team you beat on the ground, and now they're a team that you can beat through the air. And they're giving up a high completion percentage. I don't think we need to sell anybody on the fact that Rodgers with Adams and his receiving core can have a good game. Do not play Randall Cobb. Play Allen Lazard. That's Randall Cobb got his last week finally.
That's it. Yeah.
Which we called. Play Allen Lazard. Yeah. Deep, right to left across your screen, 50-yard pass. Rodgers is going to take shots to Lazard multiple times in this game. Because if you're the Bengals, you have to just throw everything you can at making sure that if Davante Adams catches the ball, he catches it in the first 10 yards, and then you've got as many people on him as possible at that point. So I'm fine with Adams naked. I really am, because I think he'll get you 20. I really like Lazard's value, but I'm starting with Joe Burrow. And I've always preached that second-year quarterbacks is when they take the leap, because the game slows down for them. They start to make the adjustments. That's when you can see if they're going to be good. So Burrow's into that tier right now. He's been had a good game, and he's coming off 10 days rest. And I just feel like they won a game ugly against Jacksonville, which is huge for a young team to say, oh, we figured out how to win a game that we should win. Now you're stepping up in class. You had 10 days to prepare for it. He's got all three of his weapons healthy. I'm still going to Tyler Boyd. I think people are automatically going to Jamar Chase, who I don't dislike him. How is he only 5,800 on DK?
Which, it's another thing. It's crazy because
they're begging you to play him.
He's a big play waiting to happen. He's like 8th among receivers. I can't remember if it's 8th or 9th. Whatever it is, it's 8th or 9th in deep targets and in yards per catch of all receivers in football.
And I'm going to throw something out about this that I do in baseball. When I say you stack in baseball, a stack is not one lineup person. You're doing 3 or 4 lineups because you need to stack it multiple ways and with multiple teams. And I think that this is a stacking type game where you could go Burrow, Chase, Boyd, Burrow, Boyd, Higgins, right? You can mix it up. You go Rodgers with Adams and Lazard. There's a lot of combinations there where you want to find that touchdown, but it's affordable. It's I don't think it's a vulture game in terms of the ground game, although if you're Green Bay, you probably should give Aaron Jones a good amount of carries here. But it's my top game to stack. I don't think it's not going to be like, Ole Miss, Arkansas.
No.
But
it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, you got to play between Burrow and Rodgers, who you would go with?
Burrow, because of pairing him with the Cincinnati receivers.
Okay.
The leverage play is Rodgers, but not playing anybody from Cincinnati's side, right? Because if you're going to play a Cincinnati receiver, you might as well just take the discount, play Burrow, because he's going to do well if they do well. But the leverage play is just a stack of Rodgers and Adams, and then going about your lineup. Just because you're basically, if you stack Rodgers with Adams and you don't play anyone from Cincinnati, you're just saying, hey, Green Bay's going to walk in here
Yeah.
and destroy Cincinnati, which I don't think happens.
Agreed. So one of the reasons why Rodgers ranks low in terms of rating on my model, I can tell you, is one, his price. It does weigh heavy favor for the cheaper quarterbacks, but it's also because of Cincinnati's ground game, not just this year but years prior, historically saying, okay, trending wise, you can beat a team on the ground, and so it'll downgrade a non-rushing quarterback for that. And to your point, if you don't have anybody on Cincinnati, then Rodgers, then they're just going to run the ball. So I think that's a very good point off of that. And yeah, Rodgers, because of the Trey Lance situation, which we'll get to, he's not going to be popular at all.
No one.
Even though people would like this game, yeah.
No, nobody, because they'll be going either Burrow. They'll go Burrow if they like this game.
Right. Miami at Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I like this a lot.
Mr. Gronk is obviously still out. I mean, obviously Tua's out. I don't know of any other major news health-wise in this game. Devontae Parker is going to play. I mean, the Tampa secondary is.
Yeah.
Tampa secondary is destroyed.
Trash. Yeah, they're all gone.
Yeah. So you like this game. Tell me what you like about it.
I like it a lot. I think it's a good one because it's a big spread, but typically when people look at it, first of all, Leonard Fournette 5,200 as a one-off play is going to be probably the most popular running back on the slate outside of the high-priced guy that we're going to get to. 5,200, he's getting the ball like pretty much exclusively now. I think Ronald Jones had like six touches last week, something like that. So it's Fournette's job to lose, and I don't think he loses it from here on out. So we'll start there. As far as Brady goes, so I found an interesting nugget, and I'm sorry I can't remember who put it out there. We'll find it though, and I'll credit them eventually when I do find it.
Is it that Matt Ryan threw for 283 yards last week?
It was not that, but that was fantastic.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Go ahead.
Man, so shit. So first of all, I like a Brady, Brown, Godwin stack in this game, and then running it back with Jalen Waddle for Miami. But in 4 career games that Brady has played in which he's been favored by a touchdown or more, with a total of 48 or higher, in those games he's averaged 4 or more touchdowns and 350 passing yards per game, averaged, which is obviously pretty fucking good. So, I mean, the idea that Brady's expensive is going to help draw his ownership down. The idea that the spread is big and people have this perception that, hey, you just run the ball all the time when, get a big lead. You have to get that big lead somehow, right? And the path to that is typically by Brady throwing the ball in this offense. So while everybody runs to roster Fournette because we got a big favorite, home favorite, and you better play the cheap running back. Don't stay away from Brady just because of that. And I think it's a really, really good spot for Tampa to be able to throw the ball at will.
Yeah. So by the way, I got to clean up these game preview pages. They're still in beta. I got a lot of it's not air yard percentage, it's total air yards. The catch percentage not showing up. Anyway, that's stuff that's bugging me. But Brady sucks against the Dolphins, dude.
Yeah,
he sucks. So Brady's
whatever.
Hold on. So they went out to L.A., his hometown, first ever game there. They lose there. That's fine. Then they had the look-ahead game. They went to New England, which I thought was the easiest under of the year. And they didn't play well in that spot against a team that they should have walked over, quite frankly. Now they come back home.
I mean, the shitty weather didn't
every
help,
favorite. Yeah, I know, but it was the pressure of the environment, a lot of emotion off of that. Miami's going to beat them tomorrow.
That's a hot take.
Well, I definitely have Miami covering. I think Miami is an upset spot. It's definitely a hot take, and there's a play I love on the Miami side because I think that it's just it's one of the easiest plays on the board. But I don't like anything on Tampa. I just don't. You don't pass on Miami. You're going to run on them. And the Fournette, Bernard, Jones, I think it's a hot mess. And I think Tampa comes out very sluggish. Tampa's not as good as people think. Okay, and that's not
that I agree. That I agree with.
Not the Saints homer and me coming out, but they are just not as good as people think. They were very close to losing to the fucking Redskins in the playoffs last year. Okay, and they had good fortune go their way in every single game except for the Super Bowl, which you could say the Super Bowl good fortune was the fact that the entire Kansas City Chiefs offensive line was dead. So, at any rate, I think this is a trap game for Tampa. Mike Gesicki is my play for Miami. The Tampa linebackers are not great at covering tight ends. That's how New England attacked them. You don't run on Tampa. We know that. Miami can't run, period. So Gesicki with Jacoby Brissett playing these past 2 weeks has gotten 18 total targets. He's been over 15 fantasy points both games. People popping off in chat like, oh, I need Gesicki to stop sucking. Gesicki's been playing fucking fantastic the last 2 weeks.
Right. It doesn't. The quarterback situation's tough.
4,200. There's nobody at tight end above him. I mean, Waller, I don't have much desire for him. We'll get to that. Gesicki, 100%. He's locked in. There's nobody else I'm even considering. So I can't wait for him to get hurt tomorrow because of that now. But he's the guy for Brissett because Jacoby's not going to throw it over 20 yards, which is one of the things you need to do against Tampa. But
which I don't understand because I feel like he threw the deep ball well when he was in Indy.
Yeah, I don't know. It
doesn't make any sense to me.
Could be line
it's
issues.
Idiotic.
Yeah, could be line issues.
Sure.
You would think logically it's a spot where Jalen Waddle does something. Maybe
right.
It's a
That's
kick
why
return,
I like him. I like him in the spot because out of the slot he's run like over 100 snaps out of the slot. It's like the 8th most of any receiver. And Tampa, Murphy Bunting went down, and now Carlton Davis is out. The whole secondary, like we said, the slot's a disaster for them. So it's like he's getting targets, he's running routes. Devontae Parker's fragile. He's like a plate of glass, and he's still banged up. It feels like a good deep shot. Play for Waddle to get multiple targets.
Or Albert Wilson.
Oh, I don't know.
But that's a one catch thing, with Albert Wilson.
Yeah, right.
You're not going to play
but
that.
Waddle at 4,800. I mean, it just seems like it makes sense on a run back.
Yeah, it does. Look, if you want to play a cheap quarterback, which Burrow's cheap, but Jacoby Brissett, 5,200. I bet you he matches good old Trey Lance. So.
All right, next.
New England at Houston.
Ew, gross.
All right, well, I'll go on this. Because following the theme of Tampa. So New England's last 2 games, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, 2 extremely stout rush defenses. I'm talking 2 of the best over the past decade.
Right.
And New England is still, even though they're not very talented, they're a smart team in how they game plan and they attack a team's weakness. So Damian Harris is now the only game in town at running back for them. Don't feed me the Brandon Bolden stuff. He's going to have to fill the James White role. And he didn't have 2 good games the past 2 weeks against really good rush defenses. I got to think, if you're New England, they're going in against a bad rush defense, bad defense in general, that New England's going to say, we're going to win this game on the road with our defense and the ground game. And I mentioned the Alabama running backs. Damian Harris at 5,500 is better than Fournette. I think he's better than Swift, and he's definitely better than Madison tomorrow because his volume that he got against Miami and the Jets in the first 2 games is going to be there plus more and in a better matchup, not only from the standpoint of the defense that he's facing, but also the fact that I don't see how Houston does anything offensively. I mean, you can try to go Brandon Cook's revenge game, but I think you and I nailed that last week, which was hey, this is the end of the Brandon Cook show.
Right.
So they're gonna get plenty of possessions, probably short fields, and Damian Harris punches a couple in, and nobody's touching him for some reason. They're playing Jacoby Myers. I think it's Damian Harris.
Which is idiotic.
Totally idiotic. I agree.
Why are you playing Jacoby Myers in this spot? Right.
I don't know.
Any pass catcher.
Because they look at the targets.
But Mac Jones might throw 17 passes in this game.
Agreed, because people are fucking brain dead and they look at the targets and they think, oh, well, holy shit, this guy went to 14 and 12. I just discovered some magical shit here that, and it's like, no, look at the context. Who did they play? And I wrote about this in my article last week. You have to look at not just what's happened. People are like, I do it, and I know you do it, but it's like we explained what happened the previous weeks, but you have to talk more about and think more along the lines of what do I expect these teams to do? And in the case of New England, we could say, yeah, I expected them to throw against Tampa and New Orleans. I don't expect them to throw against Houston because they should be able to run the ball. So don't let Mac Jones ruin the game for you. Hand it off.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is how I see the game too. I literally have it written down right here. It's like Damian Harrison. That's it. That's what it says. Yeah, 5,500, and we got Jacoby Myers that's going to come in at like 15 to 18% owned at the wide receiver position at $5,600. When you got guys, guys priced in that range or cheaper. You got Tyler Boyd at 5,300. We got Jamar Chase at 58. We got we'll get to that game in a bit, but like Henry Ruggs, you'd rather take a shot on Henry Ruggs against the bad Chicago secondary with Derek Carr throwing the ball well, or do you want Jacoby Myers in the game that Mac Jones has no business throwing the ball with?
Or how about, forget the wide receiver versus wide receiver. Just in this game alone, would you rather have 5,600 Myers or 5,500 Harris?
Or
I'll take Harris. Yeah, I'll take Harris.
I totally agree.
New Orleans at a football team.
Mm-hmm.
The football team. Now, I thought you were going to come in here and be like Taylor Heineke.
No.
Some people are riding the Heineke train.
That's shot.
No?
Yeah. No.
Washington is really banged up.
Yeah, this game's not really for me. I do like as a leverage receiver play. I like Terry McLaurin a lot in this game, but that's pretty much where anything I like in this game begins and ends. That's all I got.
So, all right. So Washington, are they saying Antonio Gibson has is he borderline? Does he have not Liz Frank injury, but he's got a busted up ankle, I want to say, or
he's got
a shin.
He's got a stress fracture in his quad or in the shin. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know it's below the knee.
Stress fracture somewhere.
That's bad, dude. That's not good. But you got Logan Thomas gone. They're banged up, questionable on the offensive line. I think Sheriff's out. Curtis Samuel is expected to play, I believe, which he's pretty much going to have to.
Yeah,
Sims is out.
He's 3K, which is it's interesting.
It's a mistake
because no, it's a trap. But if Gibson,
go ahead.
You like him?
Like Samuel? Curtis Samuel's a fucking thorn in the Saints' side.
I know
he's a thorn in their side.
I have this thought in my mind that with Gibson banged up, and if he can't play, get a full workload or whatever, the running back could very well end up being Curtis Samuel.
Agreed.
Getting carries.
Agreed.
But oh man,
you don't want.
He's only 3K too.
Yeah, so you don't want a running back against the Saints for volume, but you would take it. You would take a 3K guy if he could score a touchdown, right?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
But if you look back when Ron Rivera had Samuel in Carolina, right? He would line him up, sparingly as a running back, and in spots, and sometimes I thought a little bit too much. So, to your point, if you're gonna have him. And that's all speculation, right? On my part, that's expecting Gibson to get banged up, not be able to carry a workload, and you're like, hey, we need someone to run the ball here, and that guy is not J.D. McKissick. So the part that I don't like about Samuel is that he could potentially be in that role and not in the passing game as much. But that's all speculative, of course.
True. So the McLaurin thing, the only problem I have with McLaurin, 'cause the volume makes sense there, in that he's the only game in town, and he should be able to get open enough to, to get his right. He's good enough, but Sean Payton has actually called McLaurin out by name multiple times in referencing to how good he is and all that sort of stuff, which he rarely does. And I just think that this is a scenario where the Saints are looking at this going, okay, we are not going to let Terry McLaurin beat us tomorrow, period.
Yeah.
And Lattimore had an okay game last week. Kenny Golladay was really good, really physical with Lattimore, and so they beat him on that a couple times. He had the one play against Barkley, but he's been playing lights out. I think that they will handle McLaurin to keep him within check. If you're a cash person, yeah, he'll get you 2x, but why not go all the way up to Adams in that spot?
Yeah. I mean, McLaurin, I know you love this term, but McLaurin's not a cash play.
Not really.
For me, he's a leverage play at 7,400. Where
he's not the best cash play at his price.
No, because that game we'll get to. But there's a receiver that, there's a receiver $100 more than McLaurin that's going to be pretty popular tomorrow.
Okay, maybe I'm drawing a blank on who it is.
My point being with McLaurin is that with no Logan Thomas, with a banged up Antonio Gibson, I don't see and. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hasn't Lattimore only been playing on the right side of the formation?
No, he'll shadow. He'll shadow. He shadowed Adams in week 1 a good deal. And now, but keep in mind, so the 2 weeks after that, they played Carolina, which DJ Moore, he doesn't deal with DJ Moore. That's a horrible matchup for Lattimore. Always has been. Of
course, he's a speed guy, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they kind of played. Plus, they were really banged up that week defensively. New England, they played a little bit more sides, but the reason there was nobody on New England where they're like, okay, we need Lattimore to shadow somebody. He shadowed Golladay a decent amount last week. Okay. And that was the only guy. So he should shadow.
So you think what, McLaurin sees him 60% of the time?
I would say higher.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I would say
so
higher.
In that case, maybe he's not as good a play, but I think McLaurin he's so goddamn good.
It's not Lattimore. I think he'll see bracket coverage. I think he's going to see a good deal of bracket coverage, because the other thing that the Saints have to factor here is Heineke will run the ball, which could lead to, we could see, and this could benefit McLaurin, you could see the Saints play a lot more zone and just say, okay, we're going to play zone. We don't want Heineke.
Go over top.
Well, yeah. They want to make sure that they have guys in position in case Heineke scrambles that they can collapse on it. You play man, and those defenders turn their back on the quarterback.
That's it.
He takes off. So this should be a Alvin Kamara get right game. The target thing about him, everybody's like, oh, he didn't get any targets last week. He had 2 targets. One was behind the line of scrimmage. The other one was a deflected pass, so it never registered as anything. That said, I will admit that the targets are down this year for him, but this is a spot where it's their last game before bye, when they're going to get everyone back. They'll have Traquan back. They'll have Michael Thomas back. They'll have a couple offensive linemen back as well. I think it's a lean on Kamara game, and you're getting him. The latest projection poll I ran had it at 20%. It's going to come in way lower than that. I don't see how nobody 20%? Is thinking. Yeah.
No one's going to play Kamara tomorrow.
I agree.
No. He'll be under 10%.
I agree. So this is where I think the projection models are way off on their numbers. He'll be extremely low owned. He's my contrarian pivot because he's the only guy that they really got in the spot. I don't see how the Saints. Chase Young doesn't have a sack yet, and I'm terrified tomorrow. Odd. Yeah, I'm terrified of this game.
I think this is a get right game for Washington's defense personally, and I think they're like 2,300 or something. They're dirt cheap.
Yeah, they're chalky.
Maybe
they're chalky.
They're chalky, but I really don't care with the defense. Yeah, they're 2,300.
Kamara's my play in this one. So.
Yeah, I don't have much besides McLaurin and the Washington D.
Philly at Carolina, and McCaffrey's out once more. Any other notes off of this? Carolina's still banged up in the secondary. I think that's about it. Nothing else notable. Philly's banged up in a couple spots on the offensive line. Lane Johnson out for.
He's always hurt.
I think it's the mental stuff with him again.
Yeah, I know.
The depression shit.
Which is a serious thing, but he's always hurt or something. So
yeah,
it's a shame that it's like Jason Peters. I don't even know what team he's on anymore because he's hurt every time you see him. He's hurt.
Yeah,
another guy.
I think this
But
is the
anyway.
official changing of the guard to Kenneth Gainwell.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
I've heard a couple people say that this week.
I like
Not
Philly. I like
to
Philly.
that extent, but like it working in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
What
don't
do you
know.
like? You probably like this game.
I like it a little bit. I like a few spots. I think there's a sneaky Carolina stack here. Little. I don't know. I like DJ Moore a lot, and a lot of other people do too. He's the receiver I was alluding to with when we were just talking about McLaurin. It's going to be pretty popular at 7,500.
Okay. Yep.
He's getting like a 36% target share. The Eagles. So I was listening the other day, and Adam Kaplan's really really tight with the Philly media, the Philly area, and the Eagles specifically. And he was saying that, and I hadn't noticed this because you can't see everything, but credit to him that he noticed that the Eagles are giving up a ton of production in the middle of the field, like a shitload. So with DJ playing to the middle of the field predominantly, I don't, and the Eagles being terrible in coverage, as it is, I don't know how he doesn't just eat up in this game. And then Robbie Anderson at his price is a good pivot off of Antonio Brown, who's priced relative to where Anderson is, because Brown's going to be pretty popular, and I don't think anyone's going to play Robbie Anderson at all.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, yeah, because no, DJ Moore was the guy I was certainly not thinking about 7,500 because I'm not on him this week. I got to think at some point Darius Slay is going to try to get back to being a shutdown corner for Philly.
I don't know, man. I think it's over for him. He kind of sucks. He's lost more than a step, right? I mean,
yeah.
He let anything on his side. Now he has terrible penalties because he'll lose a guy and he'll just pull him down because he's going to get burned. So he did it a couple times. I think it was last week that I saw him. I'm like, dude, he's getting burned on a slant, and he had to interfere. Otherwise, because there was nobody behind him. There was no safety help behind him. So he literally committed a pass interference on like a 10-yard slant, just so whoever, I can't think of who he was covering, but just so they didn't go to the house on him.
Yeah. So the one thing I could see on the other side is I just feel like with Carolina having so many changes in their secondary, and I know Gilmore won't play tomorrow, but that there's going to be at some point just an early communication issue off of that, and I could see Philly hitting something over the top. Hurts, I don't have any desire to go to this week. I like Gainwell at his price because I do think that the changing of the guard is going to be real with him. He's going to take over as RB1, but that's kind of a deep flyer third running back situation. I didn't like this game too much. I think it's like a 23-20 type final. Both teams are playing slower. So, Carolina's playing slower than people realize. I think Philly has been bloated because their defense has had two really bad games in a row, but they should play better in this spot, in my opinion.
Well, I think Carolina's runs like the fifth most plays per game, but they're not necessarily moving quickly.
Right.
So that's where that stat gets kind of.
They're efficient. They're very efficient.
They're efficient as far as they're not in a hurry.
Right.
But they're running a ton of plays, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's exactly. They're being methodical when they move down the field, and DJ Moore's benefiting because he's getting double-digit targets and he's catching, over 90% of them. So,
whereas Philly's near the bottom in pace. So,
excuse me. Last 1:00 game, Derrick Henry carries his entire team down to the strip clubs down in Jacksonville to take on Urban Meyer and whatever the fuck he's doing with his fingers this week. Fucking, it's hilarious.
I can't even. I can't.
Like the coach of the
scumbag.
Yeah. So he really? I was taken back. So I saw the video first, and I was like, oh boy. And then I saw this picture, And I didn't know. I thought the picture was like a meme or something of some blonde. I didn't know if it was the same girl like taking this picture. Like this dude's been hitting on me. Was he at this bar with his Ohio State quarter zip on?
Dude, I don't
Like what the fuck? I mean, come on, man. Like, oh Jesus. Anyway, yeah. So this is a game that I think is going to be very impactful on the slate tomorrow. I think it's very impactful. I think Jacksonville could get a little rally going. I don't know. I mean, they lack talent. I got to update Devon Azigbo. He's on the Saints now. I got to update my database on this. He's back with the Saints, not on Jacksonville anymore.
Oh, Jesus.
I just caught that. But we've got A.J. Brown back. Julio Jones is still out. Derrick Henry's probably the highest owned player tomorrow. Should be.
Yeah, him or Devontae will be. Yeah.
Yeah. Or yeah. You know, it's good that we should point this. When we say talk about ownership, I think people need to talk about ownership in the context of tiers. Like when we say Derrick Henry's highest owned, there could be some cheap guy that's higher owned, but in terms of the studs,
like Fournette in the case of tomorrow, Fournette will be
sure, like Fournette.
Yeah. Well, you're saying as far as like price, right?
Yeah.
Or tier as far as like how good the play is.
Exactly. So, how good the player is, right? So how. What's your take on Derrick Henry? Give me a yes or no, in or out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm all in. Yeah, him and Devontae Adams are lock buttons and cash games for me. Not even thinking twice about it. And I don't mind playing him in tournaments either, just because I don't love anybody up in that price range. I'll differentiate with the RB2 spot and get off of Devontae Adams a little bit at the receiver spot to differentiate, but in cash and in my tournament lineups, I'm gonna have plenty of Derrick Henry.
So basically, the chalk running back is like 9,000 and 5,000, roughly, right?
Yep. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So that's where I pivot from that to I'll go Kamara and Damian Harris, and people talk about, hey, you got to get different. That's how I'm getting different, if you will.
Yeah. Exactly.
Not that I dislike Henry at all, and I'll probably try to build Kamara, Henry, and Harris together, just to see what it looks like, because you're not paying a tight end. But yeah, Henry's. I've been saying this for over a year now. On the road, his carries go up a ton. It's just that simple. And this year he's getting the ball
and
20.
And he destroys Jacksonville. He has over the years.
Exactly. And I got to point out that he's getting the ball 28.3 times per game, which is pretty fucking cool, if you ask me. Other side, I like Trevor. Yeah. and AJ Brown. If you want to play AJ Brown, okay. I'm not calling it an AJ Brown week, but yeah. I'm not touching the guy coming off a hamstring injury. Let's put it that way. Someone like AJ Brown who needs the big plays.
I might have to wait it out on him a little bit.
I will too. Yep. I'll be late
especially in a game where you can't imagine them having to pass the ball often.
Agreed. I do like Trevor Lawrence, though.
Yeah.
I think you can pass on Tennessee. And the nice thing about Jacksonville, there's two guys that are going to get all the targets. Laviska Shenault, who's probably very popular at his price.
Yeah, I think he's 4,400, right?
Yep. And what happened on Thursday night?
48.
Yeah, 4,800. Remember what happened on Thursday night?
But other than Wilson getting hurt,
Robert Woods got a ton of volume, right? The squeaky wheel.
Yep.
Marvin Jones, you mean? Targets, 9, 11, 8, 3. He didn't get any targets against the Bengals because they looked at the Bengals and said, we're attacking their number 2 corner, which is why I like Lazard tomorrow. And Shenault got all the targets. I don't see how Marvin Jones doesn't have essentially the Corey Davis type game tomorrow against Tennessee that Davis had last week for the Jets. And I know that was a revenge factor, but Marvin Jones to me is going to eat up Tennessee, and nobody's going to have him. Nobody's going to have him. I was just
going to say, that's nice because he's priced right in that awkward range, right above chalky Jacoby Myers.
Yeah. And
right below Jamar Chase, who, I cannot understand why
the pricing.
No one's playing him at 5,800. For the life of me, I can't understand it.
Jamar Chase?
Yeah.
Well, there's a long fly ball to left field. Get up, get up. Oh, it didn't make it. No Castellanos. I think Chase will be owned.
I don't know, man. A little bit, I think, but not like he should be like over 20% owned tomorrow, and I think he might be like 10 to 12%.
Yeah, there's a lot of options, so maybe that's
so
why.
Cheap.
He is.
Crazy.
He is. Speaking of cheap, Allen Robinson, 5,600. If we talk about, I mean, dude, this is why I think people are getting distracted where they go. It's tough to filter out. The Bears at the Raiders. Justin Fields gets another start. Raiders coming off that Monday night loss. Josh Jacobs is expected to play, I believe. He played on Monday. Yeah, he's good to go here. Bears side, obviously, this is Damian Williams. I'm surprised Damian Williams isn't like 100% owned this week. Like, he's not getting that volume of hype. I know he's popular, but
I just don't think people see him as like an every down back, a workload that he's going to handle. And I think that they're going to have, Fields use his legs a little bit more. I just don't
that's a good point. Yeah.
I just don't see Williams being like one of these guys that just steps in and gets, 20, 22 touches like Montgomery was going to be getting,
Yeah. Now, in terms of my
I kind of like the Oakland defense in this game, to be honest with you.
That's funny. My model loves them. But I could see Oakland defense having a sneaky good value game. In terms of squeaky wheel, Allen Robinson would fit that mold. Certainly that he's due to get peppered. But I don't think that there's a I think Fields is the type of guy. We saw this in the preseason. We saw this with him at Ohio State. I mean, the fucking Olave was money with him.
Yeah, of course.
Fields to me is throw it deep and throw it to the outside. You look at all the throws that he makes where Justin Fields basically on Twitter, there are so many media people who are Bears fans that I don't know if it's a Northwestern thing or what the fuck it is, but there's so many media people who are Bears fans who like to claim that they're football people and intelligent, but every year they come out saying that the Bears are going to be good, and it's fucking retarded because the Bears suck. But anytime Fields steps on the field, it's, oh my God, they just had an orgasm. And every throw that they get off about is when he throws these passes to the outside, 20 to 30 yards down the field, and they're nice passes. But I'm like, dude, can this guy just throw a quick slant pass or throw something over the middle? It's not there. And who is that? That's Darnell Mooney. It's got to be Mooney. And Mooney got more. He had a big play last week. But a fast track out there in Vegas. The Raiders don't have a ton of speed themselves on defense. I'm still going to go to the Mooney route, and I think at 4,700, he's a very good bargain play for a big catch against the Raiders here, because I think that's the type of throw that Fields is comfortable making right now. The safe, throw it to the sideline, the deep ball, put it where only your guy can catch it. It's a nice throw, get it, but if he has to drop back and try to read and split the coverage, he's not making that throw. So,
I agree.
You don't like anything on the Raiders offense?
I mean, I like Hunter Renfrow. He's been getting a lot of targets. I like the price. Bears play a lot of cover 2, and he really does well in cover 2. I like Ruggs as, a low-owned, like, upside play. If he catches a couple big passes, like, that pretty much pays off because he's going to run by anybody. He's gotten 7, and 6 targets his last 3 games, so it's not like Carr's not looking at him. I can't pay for Waller here. He's like, 7,300? Yeah, no, thank you. Outside of that, I don't really like the game other than the Raiders defense.
Yeah, Waller will give you a good comp. I would rather play McLaurin than Waller.
Sure.
And in the context of it, you're basically saying, okay, would you rather have McLaurin and a cheap tight end, in my case, Gesicki, or Waller and a cheap receiver, I'll take McLaurin. And I'm not endorsing McLaurin, but that's just an example. Or DJ Moore. That's probably the better example is DJ Moore.
Yeah.
You just take that over Waller this week. All right, 3 more late games. Oh, by the way, I guess on the 4 p.m. only, I'll just say for the Bears-Raiders game, Mooney to me would be definitely in my core on the 4 p.m. only. In terms of players to own. Cleveland at the Chargers. I think everybody's relatively healthy in this one, at least from last week to this week in terms of carryover effect. Baker Mayfield did appear finally on the injury report. There's rumors that he's got, I guess, a busted up shoulder, which is interesting. But 2 very good defenses. Saw a stat that the Chargers have held every opponent thus far to their lowest point total in the season, and we know the Browns have relatively been the same defensively, the Kansas City game week 1 notwithstanding. But I guess the big question here is, there's a lot of sexy appeal in this game. Are you going to go back to Odell Beckham?
I like Beckham a little bit.
Oh, dear God.
but not to the point where I'm necessarily going to play him. But I don't love this game really at all. Mike Williams is interesting as a low-owned, target monster. But yeah, I just don't like this game a lot, and I don't want to offend any, Cleveland Browns fans that we have, on the website, because we have at least one, maybe 2.
We do.
I think Baker kind of sucks personally, and I always have thought that. Injured or not injured, whatever. I just don't think he's that good. I think Herbert's very good, but like you said, two solid defenses. I don't know.
I love Herbert.
I don't see myself doing anything here.
To your point about just talent, I'm a big Herbert guy. I'll admit I've been.
Are you a Baker guy?
I've been pro Baker, so I even thought that there was potential.
I don't know, man. I just think he sucks.
I thought there was potential for him. So I was heavy on Cleveland this year, and I was even saying, "Hey, Cleveland's a Super Bowl contender," and I still stand by that. They've had a lot of injuries on outside of receiver, and probably, to be honest with you, I've never been a Beckham guy, and I just feel like if Beckham was a different, actual, true number 1 receiver, that might be different for them. But I'll admit, Baker's been a little bit of a bum. I still like him long term to be viable, but he's not doing things that other guys, especially like Herbert, and Herbert's benefiting from a great system and a great offense, and he has a ton of fucking weapons. I mean, the Chargers offense, dude, that's the best offense in the NFL. I'm sorry, in terms of having, you got 3 good receivers, and I'm including Guyton in there because I think that his role is there. You've got decent running backs. I mean, Eckler is very dynamic. Roundtree's just the guy. Justin Jackson's just the guy at this point. And you got that Boso, Jared Cook at tight end, but he's a big body tight end. Like, they've got weapons, and people are like, oh, the Chiefs. Chiefs have Tyreek and Kelsey. That's all they've got. And I think that the Chargers have a little bit more, maybe a little bit deeper. But I'll say this about this game. I didn't have anybody in my article from this game. 4 p.m. only. This is the game to go to, though. And it's a complete leverage because the other 2 games are going to be way more popular. People at 2 o'clock who are already pissed off about their lineups are going to open up their phone. They're going to go put a quick 4 p.m. lineup in. They're going to do the immediate first thing, and then they'll maybe come back and retinker it. And they won't even touch this game. So go all in at 4 o'clock with a couple parts on the other games as one-offs. But otherwise, main slate, I'm not touching this one. Yeah. And then the 2, probably the 2 other popular games. The first one, Giants Dallas. This is the one everyone wants to run to. I'll let you go first, and then I'll say my 2 cents about it.
All right, I think it is a pretty popular game, like you said. I like Saquon a lot, because we talked about it before. He looked great last week. I think this is another good spot for him, and his price is only 7,300, which, again, I he'll be owned, but he's not going to be one of the higher owned guys. I like Cooper and CD. I don't want to play both of them though, because I just feel like right now one of them is having a game, and then the other is like, not there.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to stack them, stack Dallas, but I like Dak with one of those guys in some lineups, but more of like a one-off play with either Cooper or CD in some lineups. And it pains me to say it, like it hurts my soul to say it, but I kind of like, we're talking about how bad tight end is. I kind of like Evan Engram at 3,200 with all of those Giant receivers banged up. Well, Slayton and Shepard banged up. Galladay's there, but
he's had some big games against the.
He has that.
Cowboys.
Yeah, he's getting looks. I mean, he's. I don't know what his. He's never going to live up to what everybody thought he was going to be, obviously. But I don't know. I think this could be a week where he. I don't know. He can go 6 for 60 with a touchdown. I mean, something like that. I'm not expecting anything crazy, but at 3,200, it's pretty nice.
Oh, I'm gonna throw up.
Why?
So I did a night college football lineup. I just opened up my phone. While you were talking about this to look at something, and my night lineup already has, 208 points, which is winning the 222, and it's fourth in the donkey $12.
Okay.
I tinkered 2 players in the 222 lineup. Let me read you the scores. I have a 43, a 22, a 36, a 20, a 35, and 11, an 8, and an 8. Guess which 2 fuckers I tinkered? The 8 and the 8.
Huh.
Boutte and Mechie. And the guys I tinkered out.
Man.
Yeah, Drake London's going off. Drake London has a fucking 30. Don't tinker, people. Oh, sweet Jesus. That's.
How about
only
Alabama's getting? How about Alabama's getting steamrolled right now?
Yeah.
24-10.
Yeah. Fucking.
That's nice. It's
Don't
not
tinker,
nice for my
people.
lineups.
If you don't have
It's
a
not
reason to tinker.
Yeah. I know. Just like all the lineups you're going to build tonight and then tinker tomorrow morning. Right.
Well, that was a tinker 2 minutes before lock, and it was strictly just because I'm like, I gotta have my favorite receiver in the game. But fucking.
You love that.
Brilliant.
Anyway, don't break the TV.
That's the game tomorrow.
I know.
Saints Redskins.
I know.
Saints Redskins.
That's why I'm trolling.
I was gonna get some Andy
That just
Gators.
happened to be.
I haven't drank during a Saints game this year. I have not drank during a Saints game yet.
Better off.
I was gonna get some Andy Gators, but I'm gonna wait until after the bye when we've got a.
That's nice.
We got a couple big games coming up then. So, Giants Cowboys. So I talked about earlier. You got a 7-point home favorite. The Giants. Giants are going to play better, and I do think that they will stay competitive, but there's enough on the ground game on both sides for this game to come out flat. It's not a shootout. 100% it's not a shootout. CeeDee Lamb was my cover boy. He's the one, to your point, Cooper Lamb. You got to decide. I'm going to go with Lamb here. He should be able to get open all day against the Giants secondary, and a little bit of, get back to getting him involved more, certainly in the vertical game. The Giants, oh my God, they've gotten killed deep. Killed over the top. So I love Lamb. The Ingram thing, I get. He's had some big games there. I agree Barkley's look good. I just if Daniel Jones goes off again tomorrow.
I know.
This is where I'm taking the context of the player over the logic and the math and everything and saying Daniel Jones is not doing it 3 out of 4 weeks and definitely not 2 weeks in a row. So
right.
Dak I've kind of soured on since I wrote my article and finished it last night. Dak's kind of that. He's gonna get you an okay game.
The problem is Dallas's defense is playing really well.
It's playing well, and
it's playing really well, like to the point where he doesn't have to throw the ball a ton.
And I think you can run enough on the Giants that it limits him having a 400-yard passing game.
But they've been able to run the ball in general, like Zeke with 147 yards, and they've been able to run the ball, so he hasn't had to throw, which kind of sucks for fantasy. But if you're a Cowboys fan, good for you. Knock yourself out.
Yeah. So I will probably tell people that I'm probably going to drop off Dak completely, but I'm going to stick with CeeDee Lamb. I mean, CeeDee Lamb to me is going to have a fantastic game at his price, and he's the late ownership exposure that I will have because Mooney I liked. I didn't have anything in the Browns-Chargers game, and this last game, Niners and Cardinals. Sorry for derailing this while I tilted my idiocy. I have to. See, this sucks. I'm going to be min cashing. Anyway, fucking A. Niners and Cardinals. Trey Lance. I mean,
yeah. Go ahead. What's your take on this guy?
All right,
for this week.
First off, he's not free. Okay.
Yeah, no. Justin Fields is cheaper than him for reference.
Thank you. So this isn't it's a free square. It's a quarterback for min. No, it's not. Okay. And I liken it to how in baseball I don't play rookie pitchers making their debut, especially when they're chalk, because there's a lot that can go along. Now in baseball, the rookie pitcher gets pulled earlier and you're completely dead. Trey Lance won't get pulled here, but he's not well rounded. I like Lance long term. But the dude he's played 2 games in the past year. He didn't play last year. He played 1 game in college last year. And he's been spot duties thus far. The Deebo Samuel touchdown he had last week was a fucking gift from God.
Broken play.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad that people aren't referencing that, though, because I haven't heard anybody really reference that all week, other than the fact that it was a broken play. Like, anybody that's been talking about Lance this week has mentioned the fact that, the touchdown he had was a broken play, blah, 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 whatever. Right? Have you heard anything to the contrary?
No.
Right. So it's not like they're saying, oh, he made this, he did this, he did that. But, they're actually noting that it was a broken play.
Yeah. I think that Lance is going to get you a 16 tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. He won't kill you, but here's the other thing with Lance that I've been hearing. People are debating chalk, quarterback. Quarterbacks are never chalk. You've got one.
Ownership is very spread out.
Right. You've got one position. And just through this podcast, we've talked about, kind of sprinkled Kirk Cousins. You said Cousins. But Rodgers, Burrow, Brady, Heineke got mentioned. We didn't mention Sam Darnold, but Hurts. Some people are going to play Hurts. I mentioned Lawrence. Fields is still going to get some ownership. You got Dak. You got, Dan. You can always slice it up so many different ways. And Kyler Murray in this fucking game, probably the top quarterback on the slate. Like,
to be fair, the only time I really reference a chalk quarterback is when we're talking about like cash games.
Yeah, so don't
I think Lance is going to be I think Lance is going to be the heavy cash game quarterback tomorrow.
On DraftKings, yeah.
Yes, just because of the guys you can get in around him, because you can get Henry, you can get Devontae Adams, you can get a value, you can get Jamar Chase, you can get DJ Moore. People are going to play Fournette in a lineup like that. Like the most common lineup will probably be Lance, Henry, Fournette, Adams, DJ Moore, and then fill it out through there, right? I mean, that's where my thinking is. And not necessarily what my cash lineup is going to be, but that's what I think most people are going to have built in.
But even if he's chalk, he'll be less than 50% chalk, and in cash, 50% is the place line. So it's not like you're like, I don't. Everyone who has this guy is going to cash, and I won't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's either, I don't know. from what I think, I think he's the overwhelmingly owned in cash. Like I said,
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong because I'm not going to be playing him, and if he backdoors himself into 100 rushing yards and a touchdown or two, I'm going to be tilting all day, all week actually.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, this game overall for me, I'm not, Arizona's nice, but they're all expensive. Kyler's expensive. Obviously, Hopkins is expensive. So I think Arizona is going to steamroll San Fran. So I don't dislike the Arizona defense just because of the point you made about the rookie quarterback making his first start. But overall, this game, I'm not going to have much here, if anything at all.
Yeah, Kyler is
the one interesting thing is real quick is that if Chase Edmonds ends up not playing, San Fran is brutal against the run for some odd reason.
Yeah.
And James Conner has been getting touches, and he's priced really, really favorably if you don't want to play the Fournette chalk. I think he's like 5,600, 5,200, something like that.
I will never play James Conner, especially at home, because it's too easy for Kyler to score.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but it's you're obviously, if it was a slam dunk play, everybody would play him. But it's more like you think the guys in that range are going to fail, and you're like, hey, give me the guy that's going to run against the team that's going to get rolled over on. Because I think Arizona blows San Fran's doors off. I really do.
Okay. I thought when you were talking about DJ Moore earlier, you were going to reference Deebo Samuel, by the way, in the spot. And 7,100, I would rather have Samuel over Moore or McLaurin, but
interesting.
Yeah,
I just can't trust it because of Lance.
I get that. Well, they get Deebo the ball in many ways, though.
I get it, but it's just in general, like, I don't know. I can't get behind.
Okay.
Any of the skill position players for San Fran, without seeing what Lance is really going to do back there. Like, he could be a deer in headlights after a team has a week basically game planning for him.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do much. I do agree Arizona wins this one easily, and the one thing that's not getting talked about at all is Arizona's defense being a viable play.
Yeah, I just said, I'll have some Arizona defense. Those guys are the problem. The one thing that could actually work against them is their pass rush flushing him out and having him be able to scramble. But you would think that they're going to plan for him doing just that, so they're going to have, ways to negate that, right? I mean, if they flush him out, he's not going to look to his next read. He's going to look to pull the ball down and run.
Right.
So that's the one thing that scares me about Arizona's, ability to get to the quarterback.
Yep.
In this case.
Yep. All right. Any final thoughts?
No, man. I think we pretty much nailed it.
Beat it to death for sure. And in the meantime, my lesson for everyone is, put your lineup in, one lineup, and then let it go, because it's going to cost me a pretty penny. That one lineup now is 245 points.
Oh,
and the
Jesus.
Winner of the 222 has 250. All right, so it dropped down to second place at least there. It makes me feel a little better. I mean, I'm cashing the other lineup, but I need Mechie to do something here, and LSU's getting thumped. So
it's a good time for Mechie to do something. I mean, Alabama, now they have 17 points. What's it, 24-17?
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck tomorrow to everybody. Good luck to you, Rob. And
you too.
Hopefully the Falcons and Jets game does not put us all to sleep in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It'll be fun.
I'm sure it'll be a shit show. So, all right. For Rob,
right.
I'm Steve. We'll do this again next week, hopefully. Talk to everybody.